Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today, in this morning, I'm going to bring the motion this House would prioritize preserving cultural traditions even at the cost of slowing social progress. So, I want you to imagine panels. Imagine attempting building a towering skyscraper on the foundation of sand. It does not matter how rapidly you build it or how modern the technology is. Without a deep solidified base, the entire structure will fall inevitably under its own weight. And society is no different. A culture that has severed its roots in the name of progress does not fly, it simply falls. So, we need to set few parameters to win. And for the proposition to win this debate, we do not need to prove that social progress is inherently evil. We simply need to prove to you that one comparative metric, that the permanent, irreversible destruction of communities' cultural identity and social fabric is far greater harm than merely delaying the timeline of social progress. If we prove to you that keeping our cultural anchor intact saves the society from collapse, the proposition ultimately wins. So, to make sure we are on the same page, we need to define the motion properly. When we say we prioritize preserving cultural traditions, we mean actively protecting the shared rituals, communal values, and practices that give society a distinct identity, meaning, and glue. Slowing social progress means we are willing to accept a delayed timeline for modern social restructuring and individualism. We are not stopping time, but we are choosing when to hit the brakes and on rapid modernization when it threatens to irreversibly destroy our cultural anchors of community. So I want to tell you that the opposition will inevitably try to paint a picture of our side, and they will frame all tradition is inherently evil and all progress is good without any shields. We preempt this by saying that tradition is not a static cage, it is a protective membrane. Progress is not always freedom, and without check and balances, it's often destabilizing chaos that leaves individuals adrift and isolated. Panels, let's go to the argument about the social cohesion and glue. We deny the opposition's underlying premise that rapid social progress automatically yields a much more happier, much more connected, and much more thriving society. In reality, without any anchors, hyperspeed progress strips away the communal safety net of tradition, directly causing an epidemic of alienation, dread, and polarization. But by prioritizing tradition, we flip the script. Tradition acts as the ultimate antidote and drug to modern loneliness. It provides predictable rituals, moral frameworks, and the deep sense of belonging that human beings are biologically and psychologically needed to function. And even if maintaining these traditions creates some societal friction or means we have need to wait for longer for certain progressive milestones to be reached, this delay is needed for the speed bump, and this ensures that when society does evolve, it adapts organically and sustainably rather than fracturing under the violent force of modernization. And let's go on to my second argument, protection of the one color of modernity. We deny the opposition's assumption that the goal of rapid societal progress is a homogenized, globalized, and hyper individualistic monoculture. It is a desirable utopia, but without any checks, the social progress of local cultures, it replaces the vibrant, diverse colors of humans with a sterile one way of living. Prioritizing tradition actually flips this dynamic by protecting the true human diversity. By slowing things down, we protect a world where different philosophies, generational wisdom, and local rituals can survive the bulldozer of modernity. Even if preserving this tradition restricts some individual freedom in the short term, or pressures individuals to suit themselves to these norms, the long-term survival of rich, diverse human heritage far outweighs the temporary frustration of the individual. So, onto my third argument and my last argument about societal stability and polarization. We deny opposition claim that clinging to tradition is what causes societal conflict. They will argue that traditions are inherently oppressive and therefore generate friction. But we flip this by showing that it is actually forced rapid social progress that creates this massive societal backlash and instability and chaos. When progressives attempts to bulldoze hundreds of years and destroy cultural norms overnight, they do not create peace, they create a severe polarization. And when people feel their entire way out of life, their values and their ancestral norms are being erased by a rapid social change. They panic actually. This leads to intense cultural divides, right? Political extremism and the breakdown of social society, right? Prioritizing transition acts as a shock absorber. It ensures that when changes do happen, they happen organically and with consent of community rather than forced and to their throats until they choke. And even if opposition points out to you pedals that slowing progress means margin that groups have to wait longer for certain shifts, we mitigate this by highlighting that rapid progress often triggers backlashes that end up harming those exact same groups even more. Slow, stable evolution is safer for everyone. So why we reject the opposition, and honestly, the opposition demands a dangerous game battles of societal acceleration by treating these cultural traditions as disposable obstacles in the name of speed. They advocate for a world where humanity is disconnected from its past and stripped out of their shared community. Their paradigm creates a world that is deeply lonely, endlessly chaotic, and unstable fundamentally. Hence, in summary, we stand proudly in the proposition because we recognize that a society moving at the speed of light is completely blind. The proposition demands we sprint towards that unknown future, but we refuse to burn the bridge of the past to get there. We deny rapid progress is synonymous with peace. We flip the narrative to prove that cultural tradition is the only true anchor against chaotic alienation and hyper-individualism, and we mitigate the delayed timeline of societal reform as a necessary survival cost for maintaining human cohesion. We admit that our side needs to we admit that our side demands passion and sacrifice, effectively slowing down the march of progress, but however, preserving the deep cultural roots of humanity is the only logical way to ensure the tree of society remains standing at all. Thank you.